Does the TGA agree that spike protein is pathogenic?
Professor Robin Langham, Chief Medical Advisor of the TGA. Thank you for your question, Senator Roberts. The spike protein is not pathogenic. It does not contain any of the other parts of the COVID-19 vaccine that brings about a pathogenetic state. The spike protein is really there for antigen, to encourage an antigen recognition and an antibody response by the body.
Okay. I'll move on. Has the TGA observed or seen reports of any adverse effects of COVID vaccination which may be associated with the likely effects of spike protein?
I think, Senator Roberts, as I said before, the spike protein is not pathogenic. We've not seen any adverse events related to the spike protein because I think, and we've discussed this in the past as well, the spike protein is rapidly degraded by the body once it's introduced as part of the mRNA vaccine.
Really? Okay. What analysis did the TGA conduct regarding the suitability of spike protein in the COVID vaccines prior to approval? On notice, could you please provide me with that material?
Thank you for that question, Senator. So I'm taking that question to be what did the TGA know about spike proteins prior to approving the COVID vaccines? Is that a fair?
I'd like to know what analysis you did regarding the suitability of spike protein in the COVID vaccines prior to approval, and I'd like them on notice that material.
Happy to respond to that question on notice. Thank you, Senator. We have responded to similar questions previously.
Do you know can you tell me about the analysis?
As I said, happy to take that question on notice.
Do you know about the analysis now? Because question on notice is only if you don't know something now.
As I said,
Senator, the official is well entitled to
take
take a question on notice. It's not answering the question, but it's taking on notice and answering.
Well, as I understand it, the guides to the witnesses include that if they want to take something on notice, it's only because they don't know the answer now.
Well, yes, or they need to qualify or check the information, or they don't have the extent of the information.
Yeah.
Okay.
Which is not unreasonable.
Have you received any reports, data or discussion from your pharmacovigilance system highlighting concern about spike proteins following introduction of the COVID vaccines? And if so, could you please provide that information?
Senator Roberts, again, I'm at a loss to understand the specifics of your question as to how our pharmacovigilance would relate to the specific aspect of the vaccine, which is the spike protein. I think we can answer very clearly what our pharmacovigilance results have been for the vaccine itself. But as to the specific aspects of the spike protein, the reason that the mRNA vaccines include the spike protein as the antigenic stimulus results from many years of research that had been undertaken in the US by the National Centre for Vaccines to develop mRNA vaccines.
And I'll just add to Professor Langham's question, if I may. The purpose of our pharmacovigilance and the way in which it monitors for and identifies to enable us to respond to emerging safety signals and trends is that it's based on adverse events. So these
That's all it's based on?
Sorry, these are clinical events. So there's an expectation and indeed an encouragement that adverse events are reported, and these are reported on the basis of clinical nature. We also, as I've mentioned previously, work with other international partners on a network of pharmacovigilance activities that Dr. Lawler might like to speak to.
Yes, so we continue to engage with our international regulatory counterparts to look not only at spontaneous adverse event reporting but linked data and many of the rich data sets that are available globally to inform our safety monitoring. These processes enable us to identify emerging safety concerns much longer before we understand how they might be occurring, before the mechanisms of action are identified. So that's a strength. We don't need to know exactly how they're being caused to take regulatory action to ensure that the safety profile is up to date and available for treating health professionals.
So there have been a multitude of papers about potential health impacts from spike protein on the renin-angiotensin system in the human body. It appears to be basic to human health, if not the key system, then certainly one of the key systems to health. Is it your testimony today that the COVID vaccines containing spike proteins are still perfectly safe?
I would. We're aware of the importance of the renin-angiotensin system. Professor Langham is a nephrologist, but the reality is, and I don't know that. I mean, I'm happy to come back if I'm wrong, but I don't know whether we or any other regulator has ever said that a medication is perfectly safe. There are a number of processes that we follow in the assessment and market authorisation of a number of medicines. We have product information that clearly states the risks and potential adverse events.
Who is that from? Who's the product information from?
Well, the product information is produced. I guess the question I'd like to say is that we don't maintain that the vaccine is perfectly safe. Every time we come here, we discuss with you the adverse events and the recognised and accepted potential adverse events. So no, it's not our position that the vaccine is perfectly safe. It is our clear position, and this is the clear scientific consensus, that the risk-benefit of COVID vaccines has been shown to be very safe. And in fact, the risk-benefit is significantly positive.
Okay. I won't explore that any further. It has been demonstrated that spike protein exerts an inhibitory effect on the function of the angiotensin-converting enzyme ACE2, leading to dysregulation of renin-angiotensin system. Is the TGA aware of this effect of spike protein on ACE2 and on the renin-angiotensin system?
Senator, it's well known that the angiotensin receptor is important in how the virus exerts its effects on the body. What you are describing with the spike protein itself, on its own, it's not able to cause any problems. It connects to the receptor, but there is nothing else there behind the spike protein. It's the virus itself that does cause problems, and the receptor that virus attaches to absolutely is the angiotensin receptor.
Was the potential impact of spike proteins on the ACE2 receptor and the renin-angiotensin system considered as part of the analysis of the vaccines? And I'd like to come back again and ask, on whose advice do you take the product safety?
So there are two questions there.
Yes, there are.
So can you just... I'd like to answer them in turn.
First one.
Which one?
First one. Was the potential impact of spike proteins on the ACE2 receptor and the renin-angiotensin system considered as part of the analysis of the vaccines?
So the process of market authorisation and evaluation of medicines and including vaccines is a comprehensive process that is based upon a significant dossier of information that goes to the safety, quality and efficacy of that particular medicine. In terms of whether that was a specific issue, I'm very happy to have a look at that and come back to you on that.
On notice. You take it on notice then.
Yes.
Thank you. Recently, German Dr. Carla Lehmann, in her peer-reviewed scientific paper published in the Journal of the European Society of Medicine, commented that spike protein is, quote, uniquely dangerous, unquote, for use in vaccine platforms, and this woman is generally pro-vaccine. Because of the effects of spike protein causing ACE2 inhibition, leading to excessive angiotensin II and harmful overactivation of AT1R, the angiotensin II type 1 receptor. This analysis is supported by other research, providing clear evidence of the pathogenic nature of spike protein and its unsuitability for use in vaccine platforms. Is the TGA aware of this review and analysis conducted by Carla Lehmann and her damning conclusions about the dangers of spike protein-based vaccines?
I don't have that. I don't have that article, Senator, and it would be useful, obviously, to review that. I think it's also worth noting that a lot of the theoretical conversations around spike protein are mechanistic in nature, rather than supported by kind of phenomenological or observational studies, and so there are a lot of inferences drawn between a cellular mechanism and a clinical scenario that is very difficult to distinguish from the disease itself. Professor Langham, is there anything you'd like to add?
I guess just to support those comments, that when the vaccine with the spike protein as the antigenic stimulus is trialled in clinical trials, the sorts of physiological derangement of the renin-angiotensin aldosterone system that might be described is not seen. So we do not see activation of the renin-angiotensin aldosterone system with the clinical trials in terms of understanding the specific safety signals that have come from them. And that's been quite widely demonstrated that the vaccines themselves are very well tolerated.
Okay.
Senator,
I've got just two more questions on this thread.
Sure.
Thank you. Is long COVID, in bracket inverted commas, the result of spike protein build-up in the body coming from either the Wuhan and Alpha versions of COVID itself or from the vaccine product containing spike protein which are injected repeatedly into Australians?
Thank you, Senator. I don't believe that there is accepted evidence to confirm that is the case.
Has the TGA received any applications for treatments or protocols to remove spike proteins from the human body? And have you asked the National Health and Medical Research Council to advertise a grant for this purpose? And are you working with any university around this topic? Anything at all? Either to cure spike protein damage for long COVID, if it exists, and vaccine injuries.
So the answer to the first question, Senator, is not to my knowledge. The answer to the second question is that it's not the role of the TGA to commission research from the National Health and Medical Research Centre. And the answer to the third question, Senator, it's not the role of the TGA to generate knowledge. It is the role of the TGA to regulate therapeutic goods.
Thank you. That's the end of my questions on COVID spike protein. I've got two more sets of questions.
For the TGA?
The TGA on other topics.
Senator Wren.